Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is November the 19th, 2023, and we are going to continue our study on the tithe, and this is the part 2 to the portion on women. And we are going to be taking a look at the widow's mite first, and then we're also going to delve a little bit deeper into the scriptures that support why a woman would tithe even when she's poor, as opposed to a man, because men do not tithe when they're poor, but a woman is always expected to give. So we'll go ahead and start off with the widow's offering. Just to recap a little bit. And Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury, and many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor woman, and she threw in 2 mites, which made a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. So, I mean, you can say that this woman is giving an offering, but I don't really think that would be wise. I don't think it would be wise to say that a widow would be giving all of her money. She had 2 coins. She could have just given 1, and that would have been enough. I don't think it's wise to say that a woman who obviously loves the Lord, she's given everything that she has, why would she not tithe first? If she was given everything that she has, why not give half of it to her tithe and then half of it as an offering if she is aware of the scriptures? The tithe comes with a promise. This was during the days of Jesus. Jesus acknowledges the tithe at that time. So why, if she knew it was written in the law, why then would she not tithe, but then give into the treasury an offering of everything she had? It would kind of be pointless. It would be pointless. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain. Oh, you know what? I explained it like this once before, so I'll do it like that. There is this joke, and I don't want to repeat the joke, but the crux of the joke is there was a man who was stranded at sea, and the Lord sent him, and he was praying to God to save him. And the Lord sent him a boat, he sent him a helicopter, he sent him another ship to rescue him, and he turned all of them away and said, the Lord is going to save me. And then he drowned and died because he didn't take any of the rides that were provided to him. And then when he got to heaven, he asked the Lord why he didn't save him. And the Lord said, well, I sent you a boat, a ship, and some rescuers, a submarine, whatever. Anyway, he had all of these opportunities to save himself. He refused all of them and died. If during this time tithe was required and it came with a promise, and she was poor, why not tithe? Now, the reason poor doesn't come with a promise during times of tribulation. I mean, wait, if you're poor, the promise doesn't apply because you don't tithe when you're poor. There are always going to be poor among us. So you can't really expect to have that. You can't really expect for that to be if you're poor and you're giving your money. So she may have been aware of that. That being poor. But still, if it had been established, and if you're saying that it was established during the time of Jesus, then this being an offering would be defiant. It would not be worthy of praise from Jesus. She should first have paid her tithe and then have given an offering. Jesus praised her. And if she wasn't supposed to have given that money, then why would Jesus praise her? Why would Jesus not turn up his nose and be offended by this, as opposed to acknowledging her? He doesn't praise her. He just acknowledges her giving. He doesn't praise her for it. This is expected of her. That's why she doesn't get praise. He just says she gave more. She gave more because she was expected to give more. She was a widow. She was a woman. More is expected. In this case, in the case of tithing, money, this is obviously not a difficult thing for us. It's just different for us. And he looked up and saw the rich man casting. Well, we're not going to read that again. We've already read it. 14 verses. Okay. I don't know if we're going to get through it, but we'll try. In one video. It might take more. Okay. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. We're going to do a separate video about the fatherless to identify them. But I did put this in here because I mentioned it before in part 1, and I didn't follow up on it. So I didn't follow up on it because I did so many videos, but we are going to discuss the fatherless, and we're also going to discuss the widows in this video as well. This is mostly, I think most of this is about the widows, but this part right here is something that I forgot to put in the last video that we're going to read through. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, and this is about women, to show that there's a difference. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, and say unto them, when a man shall make a singular vow, the person shall be for the Lord by thy estimation. And thy estimation shall be of the male from 20 years old, even unto 60 years old, even thy estimation shall be 50 shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary. And if it be a female, then thy estimation shall be 30 shekels. So it starts off different. And if it shall be from 5 years old, even unto 20 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 20 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels. And if it shall be from a month old, even unto 5 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 5 shekels of silver, and for the female thy estimation shall be 3 shekels of silver. And if it shall be from 60 years old and above, here's where it changes. And if it shall be from 60 years old and above, it shall be a male, then thy estimation shall be 15 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels. No, it must be this part. And if he be poorer than thine estimation, then he shall present himself before the priest. And the priest shall value him according to his ability, that vowed shall the priest value him. So the older man who's poor, the estimation goes upon his income. But, this is from a previous study. But there is no, hold on. But there isn't anything for the female. This is what I wanted to point out. I'm sorry, I created this a while ago. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, okay. I have this extra highlighting in here. It threw me off, but let's go on. I just wanted to show you that there's a difference. The word of Zarephath. Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. Oh, let's read this. Okay, I'm glad I put this in here. So he arose, and this is Elijah. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks, and he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And that must have been a thing for the women, because you always see the men at the well, and they always get the woman that's there to fetch them water and to water their animals. And that was something we could do. So it was probably a pleasure for the women to be able to help out. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. And she said, As the Lord thy God liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And here she's getting ready to die, and she goes and fetches him water as she likes. And Elijah, tell me you could do this with a man. Tell me you could tell a man, go get me something to eat. And Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah. And she and he of her house did eat many days. We'll read this. And the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by Elijah. He went to a poor widowed woman. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for pretense make long prayers. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. I put this in there for the men who really hate to see preachers who they believe to be not real men of God do what they believe to be con. I don't believe all of these preachers are con artists. I don't. People just have a calling. They just do. And not everybody can know all of the truth at one time. Some of it had to come out later, near the time of the end. And so I can't say that all of these preachers are con artists. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that. People do the best they can. And there are cons. I'm certainly not going to sit there and say that there aren't. There are cons. It's easy to make money in the church. Of course it's going to draw con artists. But there are many good people as well. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Okay, so here we're getting into the part about the widows. I spoke about the widows before, and there was a lot that I left out, so I put it. So we're going to be talking about the widows further, and then we're also going to talk about the fatherless as well. So the widows were supposed to be taken care of by the church. That's why I put this in here. The money that goes into the church, when you put your money in the hands of the Levites, of the pastors, whoever, they do have a calling to help those in need. They do have, and that's part of the description of their job in the Bible, as he placed here. Even the Grecians were like, your widows are out here hungry and homeless, and so they needed to take care of them. Of course, it was the family's job first, and we're going to look at that scripture as well. But the church always came to play in these areas of need. But this is why you give your money to a church that is a true church of God, because other churches don't feel that burden upon them. Not everyone feels that burden. Instructions for the church. Okay, here. All of this section is about a widow indeed, and it's all just lies. It's all just lies. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren, the elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters, with all purity. Every time I see this purity thing, I see deception. There's a deception not far behind. Honor, not every time, but I'm starting to notice a pattern. Honor widows that are widows indeed. See, all of this right here is to set up the nunnery. Let's read. And I've quoted one of these scriptures before. Let's read. But if any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to show piety at home. And to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before God. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can look these words up on your own. Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate trusteth in her God and continueth in supplications in prayer night and day. Desolate means that she's alone and single. See, because they're pushing the nunnery here. So if she's a widow, she has to be alone and single forever in order to be a widow indeed, whatever this means. But she that liveth in pleasure, and if she's not alone, she's dead. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. Can you see the Catholic Church here? Can you see it? They're what is it? Masochists? I mean, they like to inflict pain upon themselves, believing that it makes them more pious some kind of way. I'm not really sure here. So if the woman is a widow, she has to be alone. Otherwise, she's dead. Because if she's not alone, that's some pleasure in her life. She's living in pleasure if she's not alone. And these things, and they are particularly vicious against the women. It's not intentional. It's to set up the nunnery, but it's particularly vicious. And these things give in charge that they may be blameless. But if any provide not, so we're talking about the men now. So this was the transition here to the men, but this is equally a lie. And I tried to make allowances for this. I did. No, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't stand up. Not to scrutiny, or not if you're honest. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Lies. The Bible says a man clings to his wife. He clings to his wife. He's going to provide for his wife and the children in his house. Now, should he? He should. But is he denying the faith? No, he's not. He's not. Solomon had 1,000 wives and concubines. 1,000 wives and concubines. And, well, he was a king, though. He could just tax people more readily. But a lot of those women went back home to their fathers. A lot of those wives were political for him. He probably did not provide for those kids if they would have went back to their father's house, if they would have went back to their own countries. He had a lot of political wives. It doesn't make allowances for the poor. It just doesn't stand up to scrutiny. It's illogical. If you look at it honestly, it's illogical. And I didn't want it to be because I've quoted it. I was trying to be generous with myself. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Let not a widow be taken into the number. Okay, so it jumps back to the widow after it talks about the man. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 80 years old, having been the wife of one man. This is to uphold the divorce laws, which is not true. You need to see that video that I have on divorce if you haven't, because they made up a lot of stuff in there too. Let not a widow be taken into the number. This right here is what I'm telling you about the nunnery. Be taken into the number. What is that supposed to mean? You don't get cared for? Is that the number? We're only going to care for this many people and under these requirements. And the requirement, it doesn't have anything to do with being poor and needy. No, you're a part of this number, a part of this group if you are this. And it's just utter nonsense. There's no such stipulations. The stipulation is that you're poor. That's the stipulation. Let not a widow be taken into the number. The exclusivity of this is what bothers me about this right here. But like I said, it was written like this in order to uphold the nunnery. Under 80 years old, 60 years old, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, and if she have lodged strangers. What if she was barren? And if she has lodged strangers, and if she has washed the saints' feet. Who are the saints? I don't recall any saints in the Bible, but I didn't research this, but I don't. Of course, we know it's the Catholics, but who are the saints? It should have said prophets. If I would have noticed it before, I would have looked it up, but we'll just leave it alone. Clearly, this is Catholic doctrine. If she has relieved the afflicted, if she has diligently followed every good work, then she gets to eat with the other widows, I guess. But if she hasn't, man, it's about to get vicious. But the younger widow refused. Prostitution was rampant back then. So I don't know if prostitution was rampant. It probably wasn't. But the younger widow refused, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry. Lies. Obviously, a man wrote this. Men have some sort of issues with a woman's sexuality, because a woman alone doesn't necessarily mean she's gonna. It makes the assumption that a younger woman is gonna be out there lusting after men, and that is a lie. That is a lie. That is not true. Men have got the wrong idea. I know you got the wrong idea, because a lot of these women that you're meeting up with are pretend women. They're pretenders. And they don't understand either. They think that women are out there lusting as well. And that's just not true. We do not function like men. Our stuff is mental. It's mental. Maybe when you're young and you're going through adolescence and your hormones are going like that, maybe there's a little bit of a physical stimulus for women, but it's very, it's not common. And it is not, I don't mean not common as in one person does it and nobody else does it. I mean, no, it's not common. One person might might lust one time and then forget it after that. No more ever. Anyway, this is just not the way things work. Having damnation, now she's damned. I'm sorry. Having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. Now she's damned. She's damned. Because she wants to marry again. I told you it was vicious. And withal they learn to be idle. Now, all of this because she's a young widow. I keep this in mind. But the younger widow refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry, having damnation, because they have cast off their first faith. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers, also in busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. All of these things are not supposed to be done by anyone. It has nothing to do with being a widow. And he doesn't get to will what a younger woman does. Well, he didn't actually say that, so let me stop. For some are already turned aside after Satan. Just ridiculousness. But this part is true. If any man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged. This part right here, this widows indeed part, was just a way of separating, because it starts off like that. Honor widows that are widows indeed. No, there's no such thing as a widow indeed. You're a widow or you're not a widow. Let's see if we can get a few more scriptures in here. I guess we will be having to have a part 3. And there was one, oh, okay, you know what? Let's just do a part 3 for this, because this we're going to have to get into a couple of topics. We're going to have to talk about virginity. And you know what? Let's see if we can get it done. No, we're not going to be able to. It goes with the previous verse, though. So we're going to stop. We're going to come back. We're going to read. We're going to come back and we're going to start here. And then we will go on to the next verse, because there's a couple of side topics that we have to get into in order to complete that one. Okay, we'll stop there, and I will talk with you in the next video.